Hi guys, so I asked you on Instagram what video you wanted to see and this is the one you chose. So welcome to how I juggle studying a master's degree and having 4 jobs. Yay! And a social life and a sleeping pattern and... do I have a sleeping pattern? I don't know, let's go into it. So first up, I'm going to talk to you about my masters. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know I've only just started the masters. So it's not really going to be as relevant, but I have done the same thing through my 3-year undergrad degree. So the only difference is obviously a lot more for the masters. So I have already written out my timetables and strategically planned, but I will let you know with a little update how well my time structuring is going and seeing how that goes. So I did an undergraduate degree in theatre and performance at Plymouth Conservatoire and I'm now doing MA performance training. This is a full-time course. This is obviously an MA, not a Res M, so it's a taught masters. So I have 6 to 9 hours of taught lectures a week, and then I have 30 hours of studio time that I schedule in myself, and then I have every 3 weeks I have additional 2-hour lectures from other postgraduate students or like guest lecturers. And then I have also picked up a first year module because we have that option too. So I'm also taking first year, I believe it's Introduction to Dance, because I'm doing a choreography module in the 2nd term. So that is my master's hours alone. And I currently am running 3 modules alongside each other. So the first year Introduction to Dance, I'm doing a research based, essentially a mini dissertation, which is just an undergrad dissertation, but that's not my master's dissertation, that's just a mini one. And then I'm doing a training module, so that's me learning how to train my body and training my body for my specific practice. So I went to the library today and I picked up a lot of books. This is to do with my mini dissertation and my training, so essentially I'm just gonna study up and do a lot of reading. How I kind of distinguish between the different modules when I go into lectures is I have like a colour coding system. So this is a new notebook that I bought from Tiger. I prefer to write during my lectures. That's just a personal thing, so I have an iPad for all my different jobs, but for lectures I prefer to write. So I've got a new notepad. I think it's really important for me to have something fresh for the new course because it's compartmentalized and you know kind of what you're doing. Yeah, so I have a color system. So red is for one module, orange is for another module, because I like to keep it all in one booklet, but all I do is simply have the strip going along the top to tell me which module that is, and that colour system then carries through on my timetable. So when I draw out my timetable and what I'm doing every day, the colour system carries over, so I know that the colours correspond to each module, and that means that when I'm researching I can also do the correspondence of the colours. So I also have a smaller version of the book, so this is the big version, this is for my master's notes. I have the smaller version, this is purely for specific research that I found, books that I want to go on to look at, and quotes. So I'm beginning to compile a list of quotes for my dissertation. That again is separate because often with a notebook I would write out quotes and lose them, and I think it's really useful to have a place to go back to and have them all just in a smaller version, so that I know that if I'm looking for a book I want to study, then I can go back. So I haven't actually added my colour codes yet, but I'm going to add those because I was doing that in today's lecture. I was listening. So I'm going to add those so I can literally look at a quote and I've already highlighted it with the right colour and I know which module it sits in. that method is something that I carried through my undergraduate degree and something that I found incredibly useful. I'm quite a visual person, so being able to associate a colour with a module and be able to see it straight away was really responsive and really beneficial for my brain. So I'm going to show you my timetable, and I'm going to show you how I structure my timetable. So from previous videos you will have seen that I use a bullet journal system. Again, because I'm visual, bullet journals just work for me and I like them. So I have my October, I have my to-do list. This is how I structure my months. You will be able to see that again, alongside my modules having colours, so do my jobs. So I lay it out in a month, and all my lectures are done out, so you can't see this is quite faded, but this is coloured. The orange is for one job, the yellow is for another job, and if I go back, because I have just finished the other one of my jobs, that should have a colour as well. I'm gonna see if it does. So my other colour was blue. I'll go into talking about my jobs in a second, but this is the structure that I use to schedule out my months, because the grid system really works for me, and it's really clear that I can see when I'm supposed to be in either work or in a lecture. I also do weeks, so I have slightly different systems and I play around with how I do my weeks. So you can see this is one version. I literally just list the days down alongside one, or this is my most common way of doing it. So I have the week ahead, just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, spread over those 2 pages. Then it's really clear for me to see what I'm doing on the week ahead as well. But then I also have my monthly spread, so I know what's coming up in the month. If you don't know how bullet journals work, I'll also just show you the beginning. This is a future log. This is where, obviously, if I had a really important event that was coming in November, I haven't drawn out my November month calendar yet, so I would put that in my future log, and then I would still know that that was coming up, and that's just how that works. So that when I go to draw out the November, I go back to my future log, see the dates that are already in there, and then they can be placed in my November one. That's how I schedule my time. I also, when I'm on the go, use Google Calendars. Because I have an iPad to match up with my work, I have both on my phone and my iPad. So real quick, so the same as my bullet journal, I just colour code everything, match colouring to the bullet journal, so you can see that work is in yellow, the course is in pink, so that it's again one whole structure and everything is the same colour for everything, so that I am not confused when I'm looking really quickly at any one of my systems. There is still a thread that is consistent. So moving on to my jobs. So I have 4 jobs. The reason I can manage 4 jobs is because one of them is seasonal, and the rest I do with my degree. So the first one I do is I am a lead practitioner at Animate Theatre, which is a theatre company for abled and disabled performers, and I do that every Monday evenings, where I am obviously a practitioner there, and I direct shows, and I work with other practitioners, and I sometimes do Friday mornings, but that depends on my timetable. So I used to run Friday morning sessions from January up until July. So I'm also a teacher. I teach at PQA, and I teach film and television, so that's every Saturday mornings, and that is from like 9, and we realistically I get home about 2. So that's Saturday mornings, and obviously I have to write all my lesson plans for that. How I do that is I set out the whole Saturday to be PQA. So I know that once I get home from work, I will write the lesson plan for the next week, so that every other day can be for different activities. If I have my head in the teaching mindset, it feels easier to me to stay within it and then plan for the next week. I, over the summer holidays, already wrote out the year's worth of lessons, so I have basically planned every week's lesson for a whole year. So what I do is I go back to look at that document, and then I write out the lesson plan according to the age group and find the specific activities or the resources that I need for that lesson. Again, with the lesson planning, I go home and do all my edits and do anything that I need to be bringing in for the next week for the kids with the work that they did in the previous lesson. So my next job is I am a camp leader at NCS. I'm sorry for all the acronyms, but that's what you're getting. And that is a government run camp, so I do that seasonally, and I do that in the summer, and I have just finished the college programme, which ran for 2 weeks over September. That again is easier to work with because it's something that I don't tend to do over my studies. However, this year, because I'm on a September to September masters, usually where an undergrad would finish in May, I will still be running through the summer, so that will be just something I'm going to have to manage my time with, and just make sure that I know when I'm working, and when I'm doing my masters, I'm doing my masters. Basically all about is time management and planning. And then my last job is social media, and some people might not necessarily say that that's a job, but I get paid for it, and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's something that actually impacts my theatre work and is a strand. So I call it a job because it's something that I get paid for, and it's something that takes up a lot of my time, and I love to do. So it takes just as much time as any of my part-time jobs. So that is kind of a breakdown of what I do. Basically, I think the main three things we've realised from this video is the way I manage to juggle it is time management, a lot of organisation, and colour coordination. And those are the three main things that keep me afloat. Other than that, with the social aspect, I try to go out as much as I can. I go to the pub, have a nice drink of Diet Coke after work, because again, like, it's easier when you're with work friends to go straight from work, because then you're not taking another day out. And then I obviously see friends when I have an evening off, and I make sure to schedule in those social times because I think it's really important. But again, it's something that needs to be scheduled in, and I do sometimes double book myself if I don't write it in my diary. So my diary is basically my life, and just trying to stay on top of everything. So if I get set a task, going home and doing it straight away. I know that with school there is like a whole idea of I'll leave it to the last minute, but practically there's just no time to do that at postgrad level. If I don't do it as soon as I get given it, I won't do it. So that's what I do. I go home and I do it. So after this, I'm going to do all my readings, and I'm going to make all my notes from today, and probably 2 weeks in advance as well, and get everything done. But I hope that kind of gives you an insight to how I manage everything, and if you had any more questions, I'm very happy to answer them either on my Instagram, which is Ruby of My Eye, or just leave them in the comments below and I will be sure to answer them. Anyway, I will see you guys in a bit. Thank you for staying through all my ramblings. I hope this was useful. I love you all, and I will see you in a bit. Bye!